Hey guys, what's up? Today we're going to talk about this suppressor right here from QuietBore I believe it's the same company, CreativeArms. Let's get into it. Alright, so first off, I need to apologize one way or shape or form. I've had this for a while. I've had this suppressor for a good little while, and QuietBore did work with me to send me this, right? So I did not pay for this, right? I'm an SOT, so that helped us some different things. But all that being said, I've had this for a while and I have not made my video. I've been trying to figure out how to make a really good video, and that's my Achilles heel. If I keep trying to make a really good video, it'll just never happen. So this may not be my best video or my best representation of what this product is, but I'm gonna do my bestest at it. There's your English for you. I'm gonna do my best at it, and I apologize straight off to CreativeArms for taking so long to get this video out. But let's talk about this. What is this anyway? This is what was, and it's kind of a gray area right now. Kind of a gray area. That's why I think they switched over to CreativeArms. I'm throwing this out there. I'm not exactly sure on this, but I do believe, and I was told, that the Form 1 suppressors, they're kind of phasing out. This is my understanding of it, unless current things change, or maybe it's changed since I was given this. But they're phasing away from Form 1, kind of like JK Armament did, and they're going to Form 4 cans, so made cans, already fabricated suppressors that you got to go through a dealer to get, right? Does that make sense? I believe that's how it is. So I was on the tail end of getting one of these where I got to drill out the baffles, I got to fabricate it. I was the manufacturer, and I am a manufacturer, so it didn't really make a difference. But if and when you might get one of these, know that you're probably not doing a Form 1. I believe they're going straight up to Form 4s. I believe. It could be great. You could look on their websites and stuff, and if you can order it, you can order it. If you can't, then that's probably the issue there. But they're going towards budget suppressors. That's what I was told. They're not trying to market towards like military contract kind of stuff, whatever, and you know, get $2,000 suppressors and stuff. These are right around ballpark around the $400 to $500 mark, at least this model. This is a 30 cal model. It's not, they have a shorter one, and I think on their website, this is how long it's been, I think on their website, the ones they have that are this size are going to be a little bit longer, right? Because this can measuring right now, the can itself is 9.5 inches, and then I have an adapter on it that brings it almost to 9 inches. What I say, 8.5 inches, it's almost 9 inches. On their website, the model that appears to be this one would be 9 inches, right? And then you'd add on your different lengths if you got different mounts and stuff like that. So it's about a 9-inch can. It weighs about, what's it say it weighs? About 22 ounces, right? So it's not a lightweight can, not really light, but it's not a chunker. I've had some suppressors that are like they're seriously heavy, like 2-pound cans. Like, holy cow, like, yeah, that thing ought to be able to take a beating, and I don't know. It's crazy. But this is not super heavy. It's not super light. It's not made to be one or the other. It's a medium ground. It's a budget suppressor. So the idea behind this is just that. It's to fill that niche of not the guys that are going and putting this on belt-fed machine guns, and not the guys that can't afford anything, so they don't even buy a suppressor. This is for the blue-collar worker kind of guy. That's my understanding of it, okay? So, since I made this one and I drilled it out, it's gonna look a little bit different than maybe what you would get if you got a Form 4. I have my information engraved over here, which they did the engraving. They do that, or they did that for this one. So if you buy a suppressor, you don't have to worry about that anyway. If you make one, you do have to worry about that, but I don't think they're doing that, so I think it's just Form 4s, right? I'm gonna probably keep saying that because I was told it was kind of a grayish area. Just think about them as a budget-minded regular suppressor manufacturer. Just think of them that way. There you go. So this guy specifically is bored out for, not 9mm, I almost said 9mm, for 30 caliber. If I've said 9mm before, I was wrong. It's bored out for 30 caliber. And to take it apart, this is a 10mm Allen key, basically, and the front cap is, as you can see, it kind of has, it's basically a socket, I guess is what you would call it. Is that right? You stick your 10mm wrench in there, or Allen key, whatever you want to call it, and you just unscrew the front cap. Make sure you don't lose that. And then the whole stack of baffles should come falling out along with your blast chamber. The back end back here is kind of modular. I mean, both ends of these are the same. So you could swap it both ways if you wanted to. But the back end is a little bit modular, and this is where you have a little bit of Well, you can play with it a little bit. You can decide exactly kind of what you want to do. What you can get direct threads. That's one option that you can have is the direct thread version. They have their own little. It's kind of like a cherry bomb. It's a taper mount, right? So it's a mount that would go on the back. Obviously, it would go on the back of the suppressor. Let's get that guy on. And then you have, I believe they have, ooh, that's gonna be squeaky. I believe they have brakes, but they have flash hiders as well. And they sent me some flash hiders, and it's very much like the cherry bomb, right? I just kind of have it installed on the chopped off front of a barrel right here. So if this was the barrel, it's tapered. Hopefully you can see that. You got your prongs, and there's a taper right here, and then your threads are back here. So your taper seals off your threads, so this should not get carbon locked. I will say this is regular threaded, regular right-hand threaded. It's not reverse threaded. So you can, if you don't tighten down the muzzle device enough on your host firearm, or I would highly recommend you just rock set it. You're not permanently attaching it, but it needs to be on there nice and snug. Because since this is not reverse threaded, you can easily, if it's not tightened down properly, you can easily get that mount stuck onto the mount. Your muzzle device stuck onto the mount of the suppressor. It can happen. It happened to me sometimes, and that's just because I didn't tighten things down enough or put enough rock set on it. But that is an interesting option that you have if you want to use. It's almost like a QD. It's not exactly direct thread because it's a taper and it's not exactly direct thread, but it's a good way to seal everything up. And it doesn't add a whole lot of weight, a whole lot of length or anything to your firearm. It's not bad. It's not a bad option at all. I like to use multiple suppressors on multiple firearms. I don't like to be tied down to one mount, specific mount for one can on one gun. I don't generally like to do that. So whenever I saw that they had a Yankee Hill adapter, so this is an adapter that will work with pretty much your Yankee Hill, I think it's their Phantom series, maybe that's the old name for it, but they have an adapter and that's what they sent me as well. So that's generally what I use on here. It mounts up nice and clean, almost like it was made, you know, like they made it, right? Because they did make it. But it mounts up nice and clean, doesn't add a whole lot of anything to it. And then if you already are tied into Yankee Hill mounts, or you already have, not necessarily tied into it, but you have Yankee Hill mounts and you want to be able to bounce the suppressor around and utilize the same mounts you have, that's an option for you too. They do have, I just checked before the video, they do have an adapter for your standard 1 3/8 by 24 thread pattern, right? Because they went and I guess they've been making these for a while, and it was before there was really an industry standard. I believe theirs is 1 3/8 by 28, their thread pattern. So you can't just rethread that, and your regular chemo stuff, right? Your what's the Q and really Yankee Hill, their standard mounts and things, they're not going to fit in here because this is 1 3/8 by 28. But they do have an adapter that switches, that I guess plugs into here, and then it gives you that 1 3/8 by 24 thread pattern. So you could use your other mounts and things if you still wanted to do that. I'm very glad that they did that. That's awesome. It gives you a lot of flexibility. So talking about the baffles now, these baffles are going to be a little bit different than probably, I put them too far forward, you can't see them. They're probably going to be a little bit different than what you would get because these are not clipped, because these are ones that I drilled out, right? If you buy a suppressor from them, they're not going to look exactly like that. There's some steps and different things in here. It's just engineering. That's how they did their thing. They figure it gives you the best sound and quality, I suppose. I'm not an engineer. I don't know these things. And clipping the baffle, I do know that makes a difference. And if you were in on the Form 1 builds back in the day, you could, when you drill these things out, there's no guide for clipping it. And clipping it means you take, almost like you take a punch, it would look like it. You take like a half circle out of the edge here. It's not just a circle on the end, because this is how this is made. You take a drill and you drill straight down in there. But if you took out a little, like a chip, right? It looks like you clipped it. That's why it's a clip. It looks like you clipped it. And what that does, and I'm no engineer, I'm no scientist, I don't know all this stuff, but I know enough to get me in trouble. My understanding of it is that disrupts the travel of gases. It disrupts the gas flow, basically. And it holds gases in the suppressor that little bit longer to cool off a little bit more. And in essence, it can make the suppressor a little bit quieter. It can do that, all right? Can. Now, 1 clip, 2 clip, how deep you clip it, that's all up to you, and that's the thing that every suppressor company chases. Maybe not the thing, but that's something that every suppressor company tries to figure out and make their stuff a little bit different. So if you have one of these that's a Form 1, if you want to clip it, that's up to you. You can do it a host of different ways. I haven't even done it to these yet. But if you get one from QuietBore, a Form 4, a regular suppressor, it already comes clipped. That's my understanding of it. So this one that I have, it has 8 baffles. They do not clip, they do not clip together. They kind of seat together, but there's no click. So they're not oriented, and if they're not clipped, then it doesn't really matter. It's not gonna make much any difference. If they are clipped, then sometimes people want these things to click, similar sounding words, click together to keep the orientation the exact same, so your clips are all on one side, or maybe they're all staggered or whatever. Don't worry about that on this one, because these don't even have a notch or anything to keep them from rotating, right? I don't think that really matters back in the day, because if you clipped it, that was up to you. They just wanted you to drill a hole down the middle of it. It wouldn't matter. So again, let's just go ahead and reinstall this guy. I do believe they have different end caps or front caps. This one is for a 30 caliber, and they have different calibers. I mean, they have pistol cans. They got 22 cans, 5.56, and this is obviously the 30 cal one. And keeping in mind, these are budget stuff, so I'm not exactly sure on their fire rate schedule. If you wanted to stick this on a full auto gun, I should probably read that and see if they do have it. I'm not sure if they do. Yeah, I'm not even sure on their website if it even says these things are full auto rated. But you know what, guys? There's only a percentage of the population that has the ability to do full auto rated shooting, so most people aren't going to be buying these and putting them on machine guns anyway. These are for the blue collar budget worker guys, right? The average Joe. That's what these guys are for. That's my understanding of it. Not to say they're low quality. Not at all. They're not. I do not believe so. The quality, the steel, everything looks great. It looks like it was well machined. Even their pieces and parts, they look well put together. They're not cheap garbage. Don't misinterpret budget with cheap. It's not the same thing. There's a difference. There's 2 different words there, and I'm not saying cheap. I'm saying these are budget-minded things. So, without getting into too much more information, because I'm just droning on, and I really apologize about that, let's go out and shoot these things, and I'll show you a comparison between this suppressor and some other suppressors out there that are same size-ish, right? Same relative volume and stuff. We'll do a little bit of comparison, do a little bit of shooting, and come back and wrap up the video. All right, guys, we are finally here at the range. We're not at our usual spot. Somebody beat us there, so we're out at another spot. But regardless, we have our 9-inch. I haven't talked about this guy a whole lot, but this is a 9-inch 300 blackout. It's gone through many different configurations, but basically 9-inch 300 blackout. It works very well for me with subs, and it obviously, I mean, if it works with subs, it's probably generally going to work with supers, and for me, that seems to be the case. So this is the first time I'm shooting this guy. Today, we're really just looking at 300 blackout. I have this Wolf 145 grain stuff. That's the supers, and then S&B 200 grain subsonic stuff. I like that. That stuff actually works pretty well. But we're just going to shoot it a little bit. We're not going to go crazy, shoot a whole bunch, just to get an idea of how it sounds. And these are the first shots out of here. A lot of times when you have a brand new can, there's no carbon in it. It is whistle slick clean, however you want to say that. A lot of times it's going to be a little bit louder. You need to break it in a little bit. You need to get some carbon in there, you know, brush off the baffles and everything, in my experience, and it kind of breaks itself in. So we're going to go ahead, put this guy on. We're going to be using their it's not really technically a QD, right? But their muzzle attachments on here, right? It's not a direct thread, but it's their muzzle attachments on here. Has a taper mount on it. Very reminiscent of like a cherry bomb. So, yes, I had to check. I thought I didn't turn the microphone on. Let's go ahead and shoot this thing real quick. I'm not going to risk it necessarily, because these are supers. So I'm going to go ahead and put my ears on. Let's put this guy over here. Knock everything over. And let's just fire off a couple rounds into the dirt. And let's just see. Let's just see. Maybe it'll surprise me, but let's see. All right. Tripod's moving up a little bit. I'm going to take off, break the seal on my left ear. Let's see how that sounds. And these are supers, so they're probably going to be loud. Yeah. Little bit loud, but those are supers. Those are supers, so I'm not overly concerned about that. All right. Let's shoot steel at 5 yards, see what that does. All right, we're good. We're dead on. We're dead on. It didn't seem to change the zero. This thing was zeroed with a different muzzle device, different can on it. So that's nice to know. Let's do one more. All right, now we got two. I'm not, like I said, we're not gonna shoot crazy. Up here, up close. I'm gonna take this ear off. Up here, up close. I'm just gonna shoot 2 rounds, and then I'm gonna scoot back and kind of, hopefully that'll help you get a legitimate sound notice of what this thing does. Sound quality, I don't know, because it might be peeking out the microphone. Probably is. These are 2 subsonic rounds into the dirt. Oh yeah. No, that's fine. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. Those, when you start shooting subs, it's just a very beautiful thing. All right, so I'm gonna scoot back. I don't know what this is, 75 yards. I'm gonna kind of leave the camera here. I'm gonna move it over a little bit so the truck's not in the way. And I'm gonna be shooting past the camera. So you should hear the crack if the round goes supersonic. And you should really be able to get a relatively clear representation of how this guy sounds. I'll shoot it against a 5.56, a 9mm, and then this guy super and sub. It's just quiet. All right, guys, so there you go. That's just as best of a comparison that I could do for you. Shooting 5.56 and shooting 300 blackout. To me, and since there is a variable of me, I'm the one that drilled these baffles out and they're not clipped, and I know that makes a difference. This was a little bit louder than some of the other cans that were out there. And that was just to me in my ear. I didn't have the benefit of having another person there with me to shoot, and I could stand off to the side and listen. Maybe to the shooter it's louder, but downrange it's quieter. You know, there's a lot of different variables and things. But to me, it was a little bit louder, and the trade-off would be that with some suppressors, especially if you're going for regular built suppressors, not Form 1 suppressors, this is, again, budget-minded. You're saving money. If you're trying to take the edge off of something, if you're trying to take the edge off, that's what this guy would be for, right? And not just take the edge off. And don't hear what I'm saying and super read between the lines and be like, oh, you're saying it just takes the edge off and it doesn't do any good. No, it suppresses the round. Some rounds suppress better, like 300 blackout subsonic, it's made to be suppressed, right? A full-blown 5.56, that's not even made to be suppressed. That was never intended to be suppressed. We just put it into that role because that's what everybody shoots nowadays, right? So there's benefits, there's pros and cons to everything. What this guy's benefit is it's budget-minded. You're not going to break the bank buying one, all right? And then it is going to work, especially if you're like putting this on a hunting gun, putting this on, you know, even a home defense gun. If that's your game, if that's what you want to do, and that's what you can afford, and that's what you want to put on it, it would fill that role. It does its job. It does its job. And I think it does it pretty well. I think it does it pretty well. Are there other suppressors out there? Yes. Do they fill different niches? They fill different niches for sure, but they might cost you more. So anyway, guys, that's a look at this guy. Again, I apologize for taking so long to get this video out. You guys don't even know because I posted on Instagram like a long time ago, and I mentioned a couple things here and there a long time ago on the channel, and you've probably forgotten about it. So I'm mainly apologizing to QuietBore or CreativeArms for taking so long to get this video out, but hopefully it helps you guys. I know there were people that were considering directly comparing this suppressor with the JK Armament cans. They're very close. I've got to tell you, they are very, very close. There's no welds on this, on the outer part of the can, right? There's no welds on there at all. On your JK Armament cans, every cup, every baffle is screwed together, so you have potentiality there for fractures and stresses and breakage and gas leaks and stuff. Whereas on the QuietBore, it's not a fully welded can, but the tube is it's not there's nothing on it. It's just a tube, right? There's no stress fracture areas or places for gases to get out. So there's benefits. There's pros and cons to each one. So which one fits your flavor, which one fits your needs, that's up to you guys to decide. So anyway, guys, if any of you have a QuietBore Form 1 can or a CreativeArms Form 4 can, if any of you guys have one of those, I would love to hear back from you and hear, you know, what you think about it. Did you get the 5.56 one, the 30 cal one? What do you use it for, and what do you find its niche? I have found that most suppressors have a niche, right? I need to keep shooting this guy to really, I mean, it's close. I mean, 300 blackout subsonic, I mean, you could obviously say that that's a good niche for any good 30 cal suppressor. It really is. That's a very easy can to suppress. Round to suppress. But every suppressor, generally, when you shoot it enough and you get enough time with it and use it on different hosts and things, you'll find a niche that you like it better on. So if any of you guys have one of these, I'd love to know what your niche is. What did you find was, you know, what shoe did this fill? You hear what I'm saying? I'm just droning on. I'm droning on. I'm sorry about that. That's it. Y'all be good, be safe. I really do appreciate you guys watching, subscribing, and everything. And hopefully, we'll catch you guys in the next video. See ya.